Alrighty, we last left off with me messing around painting the intake. That is all done, but I'm gonna save that as kind of a surprise. I'll probably end up accidentally showing it in the background a few times, but it looks really good. But the main thing that it's time to start working on is the engine. So, time to start getting this ready to get the pistons out of it. Probably gonna set it up on the workbench. I just got that cleaned off, so. But I first gotta take a few things off. I gotta pop these plugs loose all the way around. At least there's only 3 of them. I already got the rear covers off of this, so that's all good to go. But I gotta get that stuff broke loose while it's on the engine stand. That way I don't gotta try and wrestle the block to pop those loose. I gotta get the water pump off. Probably gonna take off the whole oil filter and cooler deal that it's got there, and just little odds and ends. Get them off. That way I can get this set on the workbench and we can get to popping some pistons out of it tonight. The engine is now on the workbench. Got everything ready to go. Well, of course you can't just move it by hand, but plugs are all broke loose, drained as much as it can drain, and it's still gonna make a mess on my workbench, but is what it is. So tonight I'll come back out here and we'll start pulling pistons out of it. Very excited. Can't wait to start cleaning this thing up and getting it ready. So, a lot to look forward to. Been just doing a little bit of putzing here this morning. You can see I got some pistons laying on the bench. Got them all pulled out of here this morning. So, it's time to flip this thing on its edge and start honing out the cylinders. And then hopefully by this afternoon we'll be starting to gap some piston rings for the new pistons. So, that's my plan. Gonna start putzing with it here. Not trying to rush this, obviously, so the clips might be a little sporadic through me doing this. We'll see how it goes. Not really too sure how I want to film this yet, but it'll most likely be a time lapse of what I'm doing, so wish me luck, and I'm gonna start putzing with it. Cylinders are honed to what I feel like my liking is going to be for this. They weren't really bad to begin with. It was just really cleaning up all the edges of everything. So got some nice cross hatching back in them and be good to go. Definitely looks like more scratching than cross hatching on camera, but oh well. It might work, it might not. Then after that I went through and got all the block cleaned up as good as it can be for now. When I'm done with this, I'm going to try and blow it out as good as possible and get as much dirt out as I think I can. So, or anything that has fallen in it. It's pretty clean. There's no contaminants really in it, but clean it out the best we can. And heck yeah, I'm gonna get to gapping rings though now. I don't really think I'm gonna do much of a time lapse for it. It's gonna be a very long time consuming process, so I'm probably just gonna get that done. I don't really like to do a how-to on this because I learn things every time I do it. So yep, I'm just gonna jump into it and I'll start checking in as I make some progress. Piston rings are all gapped. I'm very happy with the ring gap right out of the box. It's all right in between, what did it say here, 0.25 mil and 0.3 mil. Everything is right in between that spec. The minimum spec is 0.20 mil, so I wanted to be above that. So this makes me happy that everything is right above that out of the box. So it's time to start assembling the pistons, and I'm gonna start getting them in the block here. So really cool. I might actually be able to get this done tonight. I'm very excited about that. So time to set up the time lapse, I suppose, and I'll start assembling these pistons and getting them in the block. Well, that has gone extremely well. New pistons are all in. Everything on that end is done. Rotating assembly is complete. Time to start sealing this all back together. So get the plugs back in it, reseal these rear covers, slap a new rear main in it, get it back on the stand, and start getting it ready to throw some heads on. So right on schedule for where I want to be with this thing. So extremely excited. I'm just overall stoked. This car is going to be a brand new car. Essentially, I can't wait to drive it again. I miss it a lot, sadly, so I'm excited for it to be back on the road. Alright, another day out in the shop. Last night, I got the whole rotating assembly done. The WX oil pump is now on. The back half is all resealed. I got all these plugs in. So I'm ready to get this engine back on the stand and start throwing heads on it, and we can actually get this thing fully assembled today. Mine is having an oil pan and a flywheel. Those are the only two things I'm waiting to come in the mail yet, but other than that, this whole engine's going to be together by the end of today. So nonetheless, I'm going to jump into it because I'm extremely excited to get the engine done. As soon as the engine's done, the transmission's ready to go in. I just got my rear arms in the mail yesterday, so, or at least my trailing arms. It's kind of like I either spend $80 for new bushings to put in my rusty old arms, or because it's Black Friday, I think those were $113 for nice new arms to replace these. So that's kind of my hint of why I painted these guys silver. That way all the arms will match underneath the car. So, yep. Pretty fun building a car during Black Friday. So, I'm going to get this thing back on the stand and we're just going to get right into it. Get this thing closer to being all together again. And cylinder heads are on. Making good progress. Water pump is on. Time to just keep assembling. Got cam gears and all that to put on yet, but just some good, slow, steady progress here. And like I said, by the end of today, this is going to be a complete motor minus an oil pan. Unless it shows up in the mail today. Then I could get it thrown on, but it's Saturday and I'm not really expecting to see it at all until next week, so. Well, my phone ended up dying after I got the timing belt and that on, but we are fully assembled minus an oil pan. We are ready to go. I went through, checked all the valve lash. Everything is amazingly still within spec. I mean, I guess you wouldn't really expect it to not be in spec, but I've never done really any maintenance to this motor until now. I resealed it and dropped it in this car back when I first got it, so this is the most I've ever been able to check over on it and go through it. So valve lash is all good. Everything's within spec. Timing's all on. Heads are resealed. Got all my cam plugs in the back and my seals in the front before I put the cam gears on. And yeah, we're just overall, engine is waiting for the oil pan now, and then waiting to go in the car next week. So I think my project for tomorrow now is going to be finishing up the back half of the car, getting the rear arms finished up with the new arms that I got, if I didn't show those already. So get these guys on here, we'll get the axles back in it, the knuckles back on, then we'll get the transmission back in place, and as soon as my flywheel comes in the mail, hopefully next week, we'll get the engine in it and see what happens. But we are rocking and rolling on this thing. Overall, extremely happy with the progress, and we're just going to keep on trucking along, so stay tuned for it.